March 15th, 44 BC. The streets of Rome breathe with the warmth of an early spring morning. The city is alive. Merchants call out from their stalls. Legions march in perfect formation, and the eternal fires of the temples burn bright. But beneath the golden light, something is wrong. Today, the most powerful man in the known world will walk into the Roman Senate, and he will not walk out.
To understand why they wanted him dead, you must first understand what Julius Caesar had become. Born in 100 BC into the patrician Julian clan, Caesar was not born into wealth or guaranteed greatness. He was born into ambition. By the time he was 40, Caesar had already survived political exile, near execution by pirates, and near financial ruin. He fought his way up through Rome's brutal political ladder, becoming quaestor, aedile, praetor, and finally consul. But it was on the battlefield where Caesar's legend was truly forged.
And then, the Rubicon. In 49 BC, faced with the choice between surrender and civil war, Caesar chose war. He crossed the Rubicon River with his legions, an act of treason under Roman law, and marched on Rome itself. His rival Pompey fled. The Senate scattered. In less than 4 years, Caesar had crushed every opponent and stood alone at the summit of the Roman world.
Not as a king. Rome had no king, but as dictator perpetuo, dictator in perpetuity, forever. He wore purple robes. His face was stamped on coins. His statue stood among the gods. And the word that could not be spoken, Rex, was beginning to be whispered in the shadows of the very Senate he controlled.
By 45 BC, the Roman Senate had become a chamber of fear. The men who sat on those stone benches had not always been cowards. Many were decorated soldiers, brilliant lawyers, veteran statesmen. But something had changed. Caesar had changed it. One by one, the Senate's ancient powers had been stripped away. Not violently, not overnight, but steadily, methodically, the way a river carves stone. He appointed governors without Senate approval. He packed the Senate with his own loyalists, men from Gaul, men from the provinces, men who owed Caesar everything and Rome nothing. He held the consulship, the dictatorship, and the tribuneship simultaneously, powers that Roman law had always kept deliberately separate. And when a tribune tried to remove a laurel crown placed on Caesar's statue, Caesar had the man stripped of his office by morning. The message was clear. The Senate still met, it still debated, but it no longer decided anything.
Then came the Lupercalia, February 44 BC, and Caesar crossed a line he could not uncross. At the public festival, as Caesar sat on his golden throne before all of Rome, his loyal lieutenant Mark Antony approached him 3 times and placed a laurel crown upon his head, the crown of a king. Each time, Caesar removed it, and each time the crowd cheered his refusal. But every senator watching knew the performance for what it was, a rehearsal.
Caesar was testing the water, seeing how Rome would react to the word rex, spoken not in whispers, but in daylight. The crowd had cheered his refusal, but his refusal had been slow, deliberate. The pause before removing the crown had lasted just a moment too long. In that pause, Rome's senators saw their future.
I agree. We move at dawn.
They called themselves the Liberators, the Liberators. 60 senators in total. 60 men who had taken an oath in secret to end the life of Julius Caesar on the Ides of March, the 15th. The date was chosen deliberately. The Senate had been called into session. Caesar would be there. And in that chamber, far from his loyal legions, he would be vulnerable. For the first and last time in his life, Julius Caesar would be within reach.
The plan was brutally simple. Each conspirator would carry a concealed dagger beneath his toga. When Caesar took his seat, Tillius Cimber, one of the conspirators, would approach with a petition, as if asking Caesar to recall his exiled brother. This would draw Caesar's attention and bring him to the conspirators' end of the chamber. Then the daggers would come out. Every one of the 60 senators would strike, because if all of them struck, none could be singled out as the killer. The guilt would be shared equally. Rome would understand that this was not murder. It was, they told themselves, surgery. But there was one man among the 60 whose participation mattered more than all the others combined. Marcus Brutus. Cassius had recruited him for a reason. Brutus's name carried moral weight. Brutus was descended from Lucius Junius Brutus, the legendary founder of the Republic itself, the man who had expelled Rome's last king in 509 BC. If Brutus stood against Caesar, it would not look like a coup. It would look like a verdict. It would look like history repeating itself. It would look righteous. And Brutus, tearing apart inside, night after sleepless night, finally said yes. The morning of March 15th arrived like any other morning. Caesar's wife, Calpurnia, had begged him not to go. The soothsayer who had warned Caesar, beware the Ides of March, was still in the city. Decimus Brutus had laughed off every warning and personally escorted Caesar toward the Senate. Every safeguard had been neutralized. Caesar entered the theater of Pompey shortly before noon. He greeted senators. He took his seat. And then Tillius Cimber stepped forward with his petition and grabbed Caesar by his toga. That was the signal. The daggers came out. Publius Servilius Casca struck the first blow. Caesar fought back. He was a soldier still, even at 55. But there were too many of them. 23 stab wounds. And then he saw him, among the attackers, the face he recognized above all others, Marcus Brutus. And Caesar said, Kai su teknon, you too, child. And then Caesar fell.
The liberators had planned the death of Julius Caesar meticulously.
They emerged from
What they had not planned was the morning after.
silence.
They emerged from the Senate with their bloody daggers raised, expecting to be greeted as heroes.
Then panic.
Instead, silence. Then panic.
Mark Antony
Rome was terrified.
Brutus and Cassius fled Rome. 3 years later, at the twin battles of Philippi, Mark Antony and Octavian crushed their forces. Brutus fell on his own sword. Cassius had his servant behead him. The men who had killed Caesar to save the Republic had guaranteed its destruction. Julius Caesar's name survived him in ways no senator could have predicted. Caesar became a title:
Shaping the law,
Tsar,
languages,
Kaiser, Shah. The month of July is named for him. The Roman Empire that he rose from the ashes of his death endured for over 1400 years, shaping the laws, languages, and borders of the modern world. Julius Caesar is dead. Long live the empire his death built. The Ides of March, 44 BC, the day a knife ended a man and changed the world forever.
So that's it, guys, on the assassination of Julius Caesar. My hot take is Brutus was a good man who made a catastrophic mistake. That's rare and more interesting than a villain, if you ask me. Was he a hero or a traitor? Comment below, and next week another empire, another betrayal, another story that you weren't taught in school. So subscribe and see you next week.